Hello. This is crooked. It's quite a day around here. There's so many things going on. Most importantly, how are you doing? I hope you're doing fantastic. I hope you're having the best day ever. And I hope that all of your dreams, wishes, and fantasies are coming true with no emotional tax. I'm Willie, by the way, and I make videos all the time. And I often dance around the emotional core that is part of the mechanism that makes me myself. So I have a lot of plans, and they can be a lot to take care of. They can be a lot of bandwidth, and they can be a lot of emotional fulfillment, but they can also be a lot of weight. There is like a living component with houseplants that make me feel really, really accountable. All of those things put together and then ran through the lens that I am an individual who has issues with my executive functioning. I have and continue to struggle with my depression, and that's a whole journey. I also have ADHD, which is a real lens to view some of these variables in the way that I approach plant care, my life, the way I am socially, and how I interface with the world. Maybe you're a person who shares some of those same traits, or maybe you're a person that is just curious or have someone in your life who is trying to just figure it out. I'm trying to figure out all of this stuff, and there's no guidebook. You know, it's a jagged line. I don't know. What makes me me is the best, and also, when I get really self-critical, it can also be the worst. I hate labels, but I do really enjoy understanding who I am better. So that's kind of how I am approaching my life lately, is just trying to be kinder to myself, especially when I'm putting stuff on the internet. I just don't want to hate myself as much. I did read a very interesting and validating and kind of life-changing article that I will link down below. And that article specifically dealt with the acronym and the term ADHD, which stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. And as this article points out, and fundamentally, I believe anytime you put disorder or deficit in a label that gets stuck on a person, and in my case, myself, it makes me really uncomfortable and pretty defensive. I like the term vast better, which this article does a beautiful job of summarizing and empowering. And the acronym of VAST stands for Variable Attention Stimulus Trait. Getting to work so deeply on this channel and figuring out a lot of stuff about my personality and how I want to project my personality to the world. I have such differences in my externalized self versus my internal, and this has been a great bridge between the two. So for that, I will forever be grateful. And I don't know, plants and the tactical sensation of like showing this and being able to talk about this new philodendron tortum that I got is awesome, because suddenly I have something to touch, I suddenly have something to talk about, and I have something to share. And another thing that I think is great is I feel that sharing this is valuable. I love being useful. And when my executive functioning fails me, that's when I feel the least useful. And I also get stuck in these loops where I just think about stuff so much that I just can't get off the couch. And this channel has been really helpful for me getting off the couch. And on that subject of showing you stuff, I also picked up this beautiful but slightly yellowing on the big leaf Monstera adansonii elbow with a very nice patch of variegation, which I was told was very stable, which that's comforting, right? We're living in a world where everyone has a certain amount of PTSD from the last few years of fear and experience of living in a very unsure world. So I share that as well. I think that's what really made me kind of get pushed to a tipping point where I had to look at things and address my motivations and my goals and my dreams in life. And personally, I can hate the process of looking at the undercarriage of something. I just don't always deal with the person that I actually am versus the person that I wish I was, and the disconnect between the two, if that makes sense. And that is just another piece in the Willy puzzle. I think we're gonna all be puzzling until forever. Have you ever felt like that? Segue. Let's see what else is doing good that I can show you. I need some facilitation and an emotional break about talking about my feelings. So here's something cool. This Epipronatum Marble Queen is doing so well. I think it's had 4 new leaves and it's just growing and looking so nice. I am anxious to actually propagate this because I want the pot to be a little bit fuller. Not always the biggest fan of climbing or trailing plants. But I also embrace that this plant kind of does that. So again, we're back to the acceptance journey if I want it or not. To my point, I've been embracing reality more with this plant. This is the Syngonium elbow. The leaves that just emerged are just getting bigger, and this variegation is pretty good. This is probably the lowest variegation on the leaves that have been here, but this was the last leaf, and it is really looking good. So I think that means that it's getting enough light. Sadly, these little ghost leaves on the bottom keep dying, but a turning point, this one has just a little bit of green on it. So there is a chance that it will start throwing variegated leaves that can photosynthesize. That is something I intuitively thought, but recently was able to validate, is the fact that these little white leaves that are completely white will most likely not be able to be there. Another thing that has been really interesting this year as I have moved through and been more open with myself. Yes, okay, I'm still here. I'm gonna hold the dog so she can relax. Oh yeah, okay, so where was I at now? This is so my brain's experience. Trying desperately to do something, but then being emotionally pulled to something else. And then, I don't know, like what I can actually get done lying somewhere within those margins, which makes for like a lot of anxiety, a lot of joy, and a lot of disillusionment. That's an interesting journey. That is one thing that has led me to try and understand my relationship with time and expectations a little bit better. Now, I don't use this as much as I should, but then actually it's almost gone, so I use it a lot. So I'm putting unrealistic expectations and anticipation of failure on myself, which is not what I should be doing. And I used these even more last summer when I was just getting into the modality of taking care of a lot of plants. Like I would write down things that I had to do a couple days in advance too, and that would be like at the top of the list. So like every day I would pull a sheet off, and then I would write the things that I had to do, like fertilize this, or you know, a lot of watering, or I was very, what's the word I'm looking for? I was like hyper reactive. The edges have softened, and I know that it's just much more about function. I almost get into this meditative kind of feel of just, I do the watering, I do the stuff, and then it becomes actually pretty relaxing, even though there is like an expectation. And there have been a few weeks where that has actually been like a great device to get me into the moment and less in my mind or, you know, in my brain thinking about stuff. I will say that the therapist I was talking to last summer did warn me of the pitfalls of getting too precious with the list or too ambitious, and then when you can't do everything because there's only so many hours in the day, it can become treacherous. That is a reminder for me to be kind to myself when using a to-do list, because it's easy to forget that aspect. It's very fun to write things down. It's even more validating to check them off, but when approaching things that you want to do and things that you have to do and kind of the subterfuge in between, it's kind of like the analogy of the car. If you're riding around and driving in the car and it's working, you never think about it. It's just like another part of your life that helps you achieve what you want. But as soon as the car isn't functioning correctly and it is becoming an anxiety point, all you do is think about the car. Yeah, there's a lot of identity in this stuff. This Micans has made a kind of a recovery, which makes me very happy. Since the repot and the propagating, lots of new leaves at the top, which is the coolest. Yeah, no more yellowing out. So I think that means that the roots are pretty healthy too. And it just keeps getting longer and longer. There's a new one right there at the bottom. Another reason why I'm really appreciative for this YouTube channel is it lets me definitively say that I am not emotionally erasing myself. And as a queer person, I am just slowly starting to untangle that anger of being constantly taking parts of myself and not really showing them, or choosing to hide them for a lot of reasons, like pleasing other people, personal safety, prejudice, bias, just a whole bunch of really not nice things. And for me, stepping into my power, no matter how reluctant I've been, has been healing. So I just want to say thanks if you're watching this, because it's really just being seen feels huge. I love this. I love talking about my real emotions with something pleasurable, like talking about plants and their progress. So yeah, this biliatai has a new leaf. I'm excited to see how big it is compared to the last new leaf, which was the biggest so far. But we'll have to see with this one. I have suspicions it might be a little smaller, but that's okay too. You know, it looks healthy. That's the big thing. This channel is about demystifying a lot of the processes of what it actually takes to keep something alive and growing, thriving, or at least not in imminent decline. So I think it's important to put a little bit of wisdom into what you can try if you're a person that has vast and you are taking care of a lot of plants or have a hobby that takes active tending. First, to-do lists. It is a high impact and low risk option. Another thing is, with the help of a licensed professional, certain medications have given me what I feel is an edge up of being able to deal with my emotions and my ability to get out of bed. I have an interesting relationship with talk therapy, but I do think it is very helpful to crystallize and challenge your ideas and also help you find a judgment-free sounding board. And as a person who suffers a lot with PTSD, I think so much of that can be tied into executive functioning. I'm obsessed with psychology and philosophy and decoding what's the purpose of all of this. A good example is I think my emotional motivations lie deeper than trying to show and tell you plants today, even though those narratives exist analogous, because I really want to do that, and that is part of me, and that's the thing I'm the most excited about. But I also have this driving need to talk about things that scare me, and I feel like I want to bring out into the light, because by doing that, I'm not as afraid anymore. And I guess it goes without saying that what I'm afraid of is that I am not lovable or not worthy, or feeling like I'll never be enough. Another thing that I think is the most important, and it's so obvious, but I needed to hear it because I didn't go there when I was in the weeds and in my most challenging moments, and that is to ask for support. Because the people in my life were not nearly as turned off by this stuff as I thought they were going to be, and that made me braver and more bold and more able to articulate when I need support with something. And that can be huge because, you know, I'm not an island. I replanted this recently. I'm gonna make a whole repotting video, kind of like an ASMR sensory thing, because I need to relax, I think. And these will be a part of that, but they're doing so good in the new soil. Look at that, it's almost the size of my head. Sharing and caring can be scary, so thanks for hanging out with me today. It feels so good to tell you about how I'm actually feeling. I don't know what is my purpose on this planet. I hope it's to make it better. For a really long time, I thought talking about my feelings made it worse for anyone listening to it. But I'm changing that, and I am radically restarting my timeline. You're the best. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. I'll talk to you really soon. Okay, bye.